Okay, and we're back for episode 9 of Saloon Sports with Ben and Walter. And today we're going to jump into the game preview of the Eagles against the Cowboys. And for all intents and purposes, this game is going to decide whether the Cowboys have any chance at all of winning the NFC East and not having to fight for a crowded playoff spot. So I mean, it's going quickly going through the practice report. It looks like that Tyron Smith has been broke by NFL.com and other sources that he will not be playing at left tackle. He's quite listed as questionable, but it looks like it's going to happen. And other reports are saying that Byron Bell is going to get the start and not Chaz Green. Jeff Heath, who has been fans' favorite person to pick on, has been in concussion protocol all week, and he did not practice at all. So he's questionable and also probably not going to play. Sean Lee is out. So I guess the one benefit is that Chidobe Awuzie is going to be playing after 2 full weeks of practice. Des Bryant is fine. And there you go. Well, I guess Des Bryant playing is the silver lining to everything. So, with that, I asked Ben, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm not too happy about Tyron Smith not playing, but because I really thought going into this game he is going to be the reason we win or lose. It's still possible we can pull it out, but not having him being able to play is going to hurt us a lot.
Yeah, I think it might have something to do with this is having to play a game 4 days later. Maybe has something to do with it because they have like 3 games in 15 days. They also might have to play with Sean Lee. It's unfortunate. You especially after what we talked about already, Chaz Green's play. You want to see you want to see your all pro left tackle in there and not go with someone else, but they made the switch. Going to Byron Bell. Byron Bell did not impress me during training camp ever. Um, but at least in the game when he gave up sacks, he at least showed some different technique and a willingness to ride uh, Claiborne where he wanted him to go and not just let himself be ran around. And he's played a lot of starts in the NFL. I believe he's had over 50 starts. So you're hoping that maybe he can pull it together with some help. I'm sure they've dedicated some time to get some help, but the Eagles do a lot of cover zero, staying in the house blitzes. So it's going to be interesting to see how they figure that out.
Yeah, honestly, especially after last weekend, we saw how our backup left tackle does against top. I think calling Claiborne a top 5 defensive end is not outside of the realm of possibility as far as the rankings go. Top 10, but obviously we're going to have to give the left tackle a lot of help, whether that be putting a tight end on that side a majority of the time or having a running back or fullback in their own passing downs just to give Dak a little more time in the pocket. That be along with that, having some more bootlegs to the right just to give them more time. But I think if we're going to have a legitimate shot at beating the Eagles, it's going to come in the quick passing game across the middle. I think that if there is a weakness on the Philadelphia defense, that it is their linebacking core. And I think that we can take advantage of that with Witten and Beasley across the middle. I think taking advantage of those guys with our quick passing game to Dak getting some early confidence and really exposing the defense.
Yeah, they do a lot of cover zero blitzes. They send the house a lot. So that's one thing that could happen. Beasley in the middle of the field, Witten in the middle of the field. If they decide to not bracket Beasley like a lot of teams have, that's kind of a favor to the Cowboys. That's something they have to look to exploit. And yeah, their linebackers. they're not great. I would say their cornerbacks aren't great either. They're led by the defensive line and Malcolm Jenkins playing in the back on the back end for success. So there's a lot of things that they don't do perfectly, but especially on the defensive end. But you just have on the defensive side, but you just have to hope. You just have to hope the offensive line holds together and they can pick up blitzes and give Dak enough time, because you can't have Dak getting beat up as much as he did last week. That was as bad. I mean, I'm not sure if Claiborne's a top 10 defensive end or Chaz Green played him into being a top 10 defensive end. But you have to hope. You just have to hope Byron Bell, if the reports are true, can do something different, better, just something to not let a jailbreak happen and give Dak some time. And you have to hope the running game can come around, and that if Alfred Morris looks that slow and can't get holes that early on, you have to use the other backs. Like they seem to be stuck into, we have to have one lead guy and that's it. But if it's not working early, give other people a chance, rotate in, and try to see who's hitting the holes the correct way.
Well, yeah, that's what you want moving forward. But I'm not going to blame last week's running woes on Alfred Morris. Like, as soon as he got the ball, it just seemed like there was all the holes were clogged right there. Like, it was already contact as soon as he touched the ball in the backfield. So, and then once the second half started, there seemed to be some running lanes open, and then Alfred Morris took advantage of. So there is there as far as the running game is concerned, but we definitely do need to get that started early. Like I can't emphasize that enough. We need, especially with Zeke gone. I said this last week. We got to establish some form of running game against this front line. Like, we've got to get the secondary creeping up on us so we can then throw it over the top, so to speak.
Some people threw around the idea that the reason the Cowboys lost last week was because Ezekiel Elliott didn't play, and my response to that is Ezekiel Elliott doesn't play left tackle, so I don't know what he would have done so much differently than that, because he doesn't play left tackle. And it's interesting how quickly people forget he was playing when the Broncos decided to beat the wheels off the Cowboys. So, I mean, it's not like he's a cure-all for absolutely positively every single hole a team could ever have. There's nothing he could have really done differently. I mean, what would have the Falcons done differently on defense? I don't believe much, because they didn't really have to do anything. The Cowboys can blame themselves. They never ran at Claiborne, who was playing a wide 9 and was leaving a huge gap. They never ran at that gap. That would have been an easy just draw that way. Like, he's going around all the time. That's a big hole over there. On this big C gap is so big because of C-D-E gap, because he's not playing run responsibility at all. So that, I guess, falls on coaching. That falls on Scott Linehan, play calling. There has to be a play to run to that gap. So it's not all on the running backs, but it just seems like there could have been more, especially coming into this game with how important this game is at home, and you kind of need this win to just stay in the wild card race, and you need this win to have any hope of winning the division. You need all things hitting quickly, because as we'll talk about about the Eagles defense in a bit, it's like Eagles offense in a bit, it's like that's not an easy slowdown. It won't be easy to slow them down, especially when you're missing pieces on your defense as well. So it's going to be a tough uphill battle if the Cowboys are going to win this game. And the biggest thing I worry about is across the board how the offensive line holds up against the defensive line, because they rotate a lot of players in. That's the strength of their defense. They stay fresh. I think everyone's averaging around 30 snaps a game. They don't get worn out. You just have to figure out how to block what they do and exploit what they do, because they give up some yards at times, and I don't know. It's just they have to figure out something and how to be effective, and they can do it. They still have the talent to do it. They just have to make sure everyone works together and understands their assignment on every play.
Yeah, there's no question about that. What the Eagles' defense does well is rotate their players in and out. They're deep at every position along the defensive line. And Vinny Curry pops out to me, number one, because he played at Marshall, and I remember him wrecking ECU's backfield back in the day. But what we can do to overcompensate, or what we can do to combat, is a better word, their defense is they play such an aggressive style of defense that I think our screen game is going to have to play a big part in our offense, especially with our lack of blocking ability. I think that being able to time their blitzes right and get a slip screen to someone like to Alfred Morris right out of the backfield, or Darren McFadden, who has a little more speed. I think a play like that can break off a huge gain for us throughout the course of the game and try to change the tide as far as momentum is concerned.
Yeah, if you can catch a team with a screen pass, as they're calling like a cover zero blitz, or they're showing that look, and you get a screen, there is nobody there but two corners to stop a screen play. And if you make one person miss, you're going to the house. So I mean, if you can time that up correctly, there are definitely ways to exploit blitzes like that. You can spread out and go three wide if you want. You can have screens built in to be like, yeah, we're checking to the screen now. They're showing that blitz. You can exploit that blitz. There are weaknesses to aggression.
Yeah,
From a
definitely.
defense court. So I mean,
I watched the Washington game a couple weeks ago, and they blitzed Cousins a lot. I think me and you were texting over the course of that game. You kept saying, "Do not blitz Cousins. Do not blitz Cousins," and they kept doing it. I just think that's their defensive mentality, and I think if we're going to take advantage of them at any point, is taking advantage of their aggressiveness, especially at their linebacking core. We need to take away from them, and I think we have a chance to put up some points.
Yeah, I mean I think they blitzed so much to cover up their holes. At the beginning of the season, they were playing a seventh round draft pick Jalen Mills at cornerback starting. They were missing pieces there. The linebacking core is just looks like a scrap heap of players. Not to be disrespectful, it's just like, hey, these aren't players that begin the season that you look at your linebacking core and be like, yeah, we're happy with this. So I think they blitz to cover up those holes and not let everything else be exposed and try to situate the defensive line, which is by far the strength of their team or defense, by far the strength of their defense. And they have Malcolm Jenkins in the backfield, who's one of the best safeties in the league. So there's ways to combat what they do. You just have to have hope. Scott Linehan, Jason Garrett, he's an offensive coach as well, can piece something together. This is a game where you hope beyond hope, because there's no statistical reason to believe this happens, that Des Bryant has a big game and that he catches every ball thrown his way that hits his hands and somehow beats single coverage and can make big plays. You have to hope Beasley is left in single coverage because he's going to beat single coverage. There's no way around it. You can't cover him one-on-one. Teams tried it for 2 years, didn't work very well. But I think it's all going to be contingent on the run game, and if Byron Bell can be competent, just be competent. We're not asking you to stonewall and play like an all-pro. I would like that. That'd be great. But just be competent and don't be a liability like Travis Green was last week. Just be competent. Stay in front of your man. Make your man work for it. Accept your help. Know where your help is coming from. If you have help on that play. If you don't have help on that play, hold up. I mean, not holding penalty, but just hold up for as long as you can and use proper technique. I mean, that's all you can hope for Byron Bell. He's a veteran. He's played a lot of games, and I'm assuming he's got a lot of snaps this week in practice. Tyron Smith hasn't practiced all week, so you have to think that they told Byron Bell early this week that, hey, if Tyron doesn't play, you're getting a start. That would be the smartest thing to have done if you're going to make this decision so you can prepare. Then you just have to hope the rest of the offensive line plays up to their potential. And that's all you can hope for as far as dealing with their defensive front. That's just kind of where I have the biggest problems, and I don't want Dak to have to throw under pressure with Malcolm Jenkins playing single high or something, and the ball's wobbling towards him because like, oh crap, that's an interception. I mean, those are worst case scenarios, but there's definitely, I think, ways they can exploit this team.
Yeah, and that's what we got to take advantage of. They have a young secondary, but also they have a guy like Jenkins that can make you pay for just simple mistakes, and that's what we got to prevent Dak from doing. But he's done a very good job over the course of his career for not doing that. So it's just a matter of protecting him and putting him in the best spots to succeed, which is moving the pocket outside to the right and allowing him to either scramble a little bit or toss that little the dump off to Beasley or Witten. As those linebackers, like I mentioned before, like the formula is there. It's just a matter of how we're going to be able to adapt to what the Eagles are trying to do.
I also think this is a game. The past few weeks, they've taken a number of shots to Bryce Butler, and it looks like there's a concerted effort to get him the ball down the field and use his speed. I think this is a game you might see more than one shot at that because you have to think the Eagles are going to score a lot of points, and if Bryce Butler can get over the top, take advantage of that. So he's your one speed guy. People keep saying that Dez is a down the field player. He's not really. He's a jump ball 50-50 player. Bryce is a I can get past you and make the pass a lot easier type of player. As he showed last week in that 40-yard pass, he just completely beat his man. And it was just down to him catching the ball or not catching the ball. So I think that's interesting, and that kind of transitions into the Eagles offense. Carson Wentz, who I was extremely high on, I think I ended up finding tape because North Dakota State puts all their games up online. I think I ended up watching game film of him and watched 4, 5, 6 full games when he was coming out. And I was like, this dude is ridiculous. And they were talking about him on, I believe, Monday night, Sunday Night Football, one of them. And they were basically saying, as what I was topping him to at the time, was like he's got the size of Cam Newton and Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger. He's got the arm of Ben Roethlisberger and the athletic ability of Cam Newton. And the guy is ridiculous. Like, I loved him coming out. I was kind of hoping there was a way the Cowboys could get him if they didn't get Bosa. Didn't get either, and it was Zeke, who was now suspended, and that's not a shot, just a fact. So the guy can throw the ball, and the success of the Eagles' offense is predicated around him, and he is his favorite target is Zach Ertz, the tight end, who's not as big of a downfield player as someone like Travis Kelce, but he's reliable, catches the ball, runs good routes, and a bunch of wide receivers and a bunch of running backs who by themselves aren't that great, but the sum of the whole and the depth they have on offense makes them better. A better team. They can comp to the Chiefs. They're not as good at any one position as on offense as the Chiefs, maybe quarterback, but they have a lot more depth than Chiefs do. So stopping this offense comes down to defensive line getting pressure on Wentz, linebackers figuring something out without Sean Lee. What maybe it's going to come down to, hey, defensive line, get penetration, make it impossible for anything else to happen, try to cover the linebackers. Because I don't know how they're going to figure out Will linebacker without Sean Lee. Maybe Hitchens. I think Hitchens is going to play there, and they're going to try to, I'm guessing Jalen Smith and Jason Durant are going to split time at middle linebacker. Durant at middle linebacker scares me, but you have to play with who you have to play with. Maybe Justin March Lillard's also active. I don't know. What do you think about stopping the Eagles' offense this week?
Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey's going to play, so that's definitely something we're going to have to worry about in the secondary. But I think the biggest thing, I think Jalen Smith is definitely going to have to take that next step forward. I don't know, his knee isn't quite firing like at this point, but I think that he's just going to have to be that guy. Like if you look back at the game tape from, like, he was always there on the plays. He just wasn't able to wrap up and make that tackle. So I think at this point in the season, like, we need him. If he was if his knee was able to get him there to make the tackle and he just missed it, at that point. But at this point in the season, we need him to step up and be there to make that tackle against the run game and Jai, because that's what I am most concerned about with the Eagles offense, because they're always able to spread the ball around with Wentz and just get it to Alshon Jeffrey or Torrey Smith or receiver Zach Ertz, who is really going to be a nightmare if he's on the field. And from reports, so he's going to play. And Zach Ertz has been the number one tight end in the league, even while Gronk's playing. Like, Gronk has been injured, but Ertz has been outplaying him statistically. What we need to do on defense is just basically just attack Wentz. Like, we got to make him uncomfortable, like the defensive line has been able to do for the past few games, to back that up by being able to tackle in the run game. Like, there's been so many times over the course of this season that against the run, we just haven't been able to make that tackle. Like, we've been able to get pushed into the backfield, arm tackles, the running back gets off and still gets like a 3-4 yard gain. Like, we just have to be able to wrap up on at the point of collision.
Yeah, they have three running backs they like getting the ball to: Smallwood, Blunt, and Nawajai. Technically three different kind of running backs, and you don't want Blunt to start beating up this linebacking core, which is a scary proposition. And last week, this might have been just because they're on the field too much. It was the worst pass rush that I believe they've had all year, aside from the Broncos game. But yeah, they were on the field too much. So you have to hope those guys, which you believe they've shown all year they can do it, that they get pressure and are disruptive. You have to, well, this is back to you have to hope, beyond hope, Taco Charlton does something consistent this week. You need him to be something consistent. This is game 10. You've been getting these reps. You've been kept active when you were not the best available player active to get these reps and experience. So you got to hope when the defensive line is needed the most in the season to play well, that he shows up and does something. You can't just rely on your starting four of Tyron Crawford playing the right end, David Irving at 3, Malik Collins at 1, and DeMarcus Lawrence at left end. You can't just think it's going to be just those 4. Get them some help. Like, that falls on Taco. That falls on Benson Mayowa. I guess he can still get some form of rush. Just help him out. I mean, Lewis Neal and I forget his name. I apologize. The other defensive tackle that just brought Ash. Excuse me, Ash. Can't expect too much from them. Ash is just a clog up body person. Neal, I'm not sure how many snaps he's even going to get. So, yeah, I mean, I'm most worried about Zach Ertz. The Cowboys never play tight ends well. Well, they sometimes play tight ends well, but if Byron Jones isn't on the tight end every single play, the tight end seems to just run them up. And Zach Ertz is that kind of player. He's not as fast as other tight ends, so maybe you don't have to give him special attention the entire game. And I'm not afraid of any one of their wide receivers. Aguilar, Alshon Jeffries, wide receiver from North Carolina. He just gets down. He's just a down the field go route player, double move player. You can stop that. Just have proper technique there. He's not going to hurt you. They average like over 14 yards a catch. That's because Wentz is getting the ball down the field. Wentz can Wentz can make plays last long because he's so big, strong, and athletic. And that's one of the reports because I actually did break him down for scouting wise. And so my biggest thing was on him was he was clocked at running like a 4.82 40. And my biggest thing was like he plays a lot faster than his 40 time. There's no way I would guess watching him play that he's a 4.8 40 guy. I'm like that guy's running like 4.65, 4.68 type 40. He's a lot faster than anyone his 40 time. So it's going to come down to making Wentz uncomfortable, get in his face, beat him up. When you hit him, make sure he goes down. You wrap him up. Don't let his arms keep going because he's a big, strong guy. Play him like he's a running back because he's that kind of physicality. You got to hit him and strike him, get him down in the play when the play needs to be. Because if he extends the play like he did against the Redskins, you get a highlight. It's easier said than done, but if you want Cowboys want to win this game, it's about disrupting Carson Wentz and making his life miserable.
Yeah, there's no question about that. You definitely have to respect his legs just as much as you have to respect his arm. Both the strength of it and the accuracy. Like, he's a once in a generation type of quarterback. Like, he just brings everything to the table.
Yeah, I remember texting you when I first started scouting him, and I was like, I'm looking at this game film of this guy named Carson Wentz from North Dakota State. Holy crap, this guy needs to be a first-round pick for the Cowboys. This was before the combine that year, before he started shooting up in scout classes.
Yeah. At the time, he was projected as like a third or fourth rounder.
Yeah, and I was like, this dude needs to be a Cowboy. I kept breaking down his film. He's running a pro-style offense in college, and North Dakota State's a FCS powerhouse. They win and win and win and win. They're still winning. And I just saw a lot of things in him. Like, this dude is insane. Like, I don't know how. His whole, you read up on his past and everything, he wanted to play at North Dakota State. He didn't want to play anywhere else for college. That was a goal his whole life growing up in North Dakota. So he sat on the bench for 2 years by another quarterback to get his chance, and then he made the most of it. A lot of the big media talk has been, let's compare him and Dak Prescott. It's not really an equal comparison because the offenses are ran differently. Dak Prescott doesn't have the responsibilities that Carson Wentz, and they're not running the same style of offense. So it's not exactly an equal comparison, but you can definitely see that both of these players are extremely talented. In that draft, I had Dak Prescott as a mid 2 to early 3 round when I was scouting. This was before his DUI situation came up and he dropped to the 4th. I really liked him. And the only thing he had to work on was his accuracy and his throwing motion and how to play in pro-style offense. My biggest concerns were he played under Dan Mullen, who makes quarterbacks look real good. A guy named Tebow. So these two players are really interesting to see plays. But in this game, if you can stop the passing game, I don't think they have the offensive line or the trust in the running game to just try to pound away at the Cowboys. And if they did that, it would actually be in favor of the Cowboys because they won't be scoring as fast as they won't normally score, and their offense is ridiculous. So it slow Wentz down. You try to make a mistake. If the ball hits you in the hands, you can just catch it. Just catch it. Go down, catch it. Don't care if you get returns. Catch the ball. Mostly looking at you, Scandal, who coming off his worst game of the season. He can't have a game like that again. Anthony Brown can't have a game like that again. Lewis can't have a game like that again. Jeff Heath probably not going to play. So he was playing free safety between Rhodes and Louisier. Well, figure it out because people hate Jeff Heath, and it's not as easy as replacing all his snaps as people seem to think.
Yeah, and if Jeff Heath can't play, we're going to see Xavier Rhodes' first start. So basically what I'm not overly concerned with the Eagles' wide receiving core. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is still a very good wide receiver, but he's not as good as a wide receiver as he was with the Bears years ago. Uh, they also have Torrey Smith, who is a burner, but he was a burner 5 years ago. He's still fast, but he's not. I'm sure he's lost a step over the course of his career. All we have to do is just like what I was saying earlier. We just have to tackle. Like Wentz is going to make his throws. He's going to find the open receiver, but we have to once they make that reception. Like we cannot miss that tackle and allow them to get those rack yards because that's where we will get burnt and that's when our defense will get beat.
Yeah. Just looking at the team, the skill position, the only player that stands out is Zach Ertz. He's top 3 tight end overall tight end right now in the league. Everyone else is just like guy. And they're missing their left tackle. They just run a scheme extremely well. So it really comes down to they run this hybrid college pro-style scheme that fits Wentz and everything he did at Oklahoma State. And they stretch the field. They're not afraid to get rid of people. So they're going to be challenged. The linebacker's going to have to play. I really can't give any insight as to how to replace Sean Lee if they're capable of doing it. Linebacker depth is a problem.
The only way that I could see to replace him is simply to just simplify the defense. So good because Sean Lee was able to put everybody into the positions that they needed to be in, but without him, they were going to rely on his backup, who I assume is going to be Durant. But Durant's not going to – speculation is Durant's not going to have the full knowledge of the playbook, so they're going to scale back to what will be called. So the key is just simplify everything and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, I think
whether or not it's the correct defense compared with what the offense is showing.
I think what they said they're going to do is they're going to play the will, and they're going to have Jalen Smith at all filling that Mike. So how they're going to play nickel and dime, I'm guessing Hitchens is not going to come off the field at all during this game. Honestly, I would forego nickel and just play dime all the time in those sets because they're going to try to field the ball anyway. You have your most depth at in the secondary, even without you. Put all your resources in draft and DBs, so throw them out there. And I guess I'm just a little bit more concerned about Scanner's attitude after that blow up on the sideline. I haven't been seeing a lot of talk about it, but that worries me in a DB room that young, corner room especially that young. He needs to set an example for those little rookie players and first-year players to be better than that. And he had a horrible game. He just had a horrible game. Scanner had a horrible game. And didn't seemingly want to take responsibility for it. So if I see him getting torched, and I see him getting blown up, that's reflective on his character. I will say that.
Yeah, that's about all there is to say that. Scan just played horrible.
Yeah, he can't do that again. He just can't do that again. Just can't figure it out. We should be the best DB on the team so far right now. So just figure it out, do something. But I guess with that, we can move into the Pick-em thing. We can go through a little bit more lighter things instead of the uphill battle the Cowboys have against the Eagles, who I still say Philadelphia has worse sports fans than
Yeah, moving into the picks for this week. since we missed last week's episode, we're still at 18-6 for me and 19-5 for you. Still one game lead for you. So going to the first game, which is going to be and the Browns.
Browns have knocked out Shaq when they're just going to run the ball and get more sacks and Bill sacks.
Yeah, even with Fournette probably not going to play, I'm never going to pick the Browns. So Jaguars it is. Bucks and Dolphins.
Evidently, Winston's still hurt, and he might honestly have been the problem. There's weapons around him on offense. The defense isn't playing great, but I gotta go with the Dolphins here. That seems like the Bucks can't figure anything out. Maybe they're feeling the repercussions for firing Lovie Smith now. That team is going nowhere fast.
Yeah, Winston might have been part of the problem. I think more of the problem was the offensive line because there hasn't been much of a running game either. But I'm still going to go with the Dolphins. And I would get to Ravens and Packers.
Huntley played well. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people are putting the problems of the Packers on him. I was like, no, that defense is horrific with or without Aaron Rodgers. And I just don't think he's at the point where he can score 30 every game to get them wins. So, got to pick against the Packers.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Ravens defense is just too much for a struggling or a quarterback trying to find his niche in the NFL in his first season of starting. I'm picking the Ravens. Lions and Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. This is kind of reflective on Lions need to pick up a loss somewhere, and they typically don't play well outdoors in the cold, and they can't run the ball. So I'm gonna actually pick the Bears here and make my Cowboys or my Bears followers happy because I think the Lions literally cannot run the ball. I mean, you have to think that in the cold Chicago that they might forget how to pass the ball as well and catch it. So I'm going to pick the Bears in a little bit of an upset there. I hope their defense shows up and Trubisky doesn't lose the game.
Yeah, but both defenses is pretty good. But most often than not, I'm going to bet against the rookie quarterback. I think Matt Stafford will bring enough to the table, and Mitch Trubisky just isn't that good yet. He could be NFL contributing NFL quarterback, but just not right now. He's just not that good. I think Matthew Stafford will be able to pull this one out. And now we move on to my game of the week, which I'm really looking forward to watching. Rams and Vikings.
Vikings defense is absolutely positively a monster. Rams have problems on defense. They have talent there. They're been relying on their offense to put an absurd amount of points, which they're leading the NFL in points. But I still have to think that Vikings defense is legit, and Case Keenum is playing the best NFL football of his career. So I think he's able to put up more points than Jeff Goff is able to put up. And he also has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's not going to stay on. He's spent a couple seasons for the Rams. Got benched last year for Jeff Goff when it probably wasn't really his fault that much. Probably around him. So he's got a chip on the shoulder. They've been playing around with his status as a starter over the past couple of weeks. They want to put Teddy Bridgewater in now. I think he's going to come out and light up the Rams. So I got the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I watched the Vikings in Vikings game last week. He looked good for about 90% of the game, but his two interceptions came on some throws. One was just a balloon that or just a duck that he threw up in the air, and it just was not good. I think the Rams' running game is going to be the deciding factor in this. I think Gurley is just going to take control of the game and keep Keenum off the field. I think he's going to be playing with a deficit and just toss the ball around too much. And so I'm going to go with the Rams. To the Cardinals and Texans.
backup quarterback battle. Evidently, Drew Stanton is hurt. He was in there for Carson Palmer. So we're down to Blaine Gabbert. Um, how he still has a job in the NFL is interesting. But Blaine Gabbert starting for the Cardinals, and Tom Savage? Why I keep forgetting. It's Savage.
Tom Savage.
Tom Savage starting for the Texans. You just have to look around and see Texans have injuries on the defensive side of the ball as well. Of course, everyone knows Deshaun Watson, who looked like he was going to lead them into the playoffs, got hurt and out for the year. Cardinals probably have more weapons on offense, but I don't think that Blaine Gabbert getting the ball to those weapons is realistic. Only way I can see the Cardinals winning is they run the ball extremely effectively. So I have the Texans winning a close game there since they're at home.
Yeah, I agree. I think the home factor is going to be the deciding one in this match. The Texans are losing Will Fuller, so that's good to minimize what they can do in the wide receiving core. But DeAndre Hopkins is still the best wide receiver in the game. Fitzgerald is no slouch either, but I just think that Hopkins has that dynamic ability to take over and win a game by himself. And now we go to real nail biter, the Chiefs and Giants.
If the Giants keep the game within 14 points, they can count that as a moral victory with where their season is going. Chiefs are going. I can't see how the Chiefs don't score 45 or at least 45 points in this game. The Giants are going nowhere fast. Eli Manning got to kind of feel for him at this point with what's going on around them. If the Chiefs basically show up sober for this game, they're going to win.
Yeah, definitely. In all honesty, this may be the first game that we see for that rookie backup. They've been.
They say they won't do that
to get in.
They keep saying they won't do that, so we'll see if that's true or not.
I'm just saying, if this score gets out of hand, they might bench Eli just out of injury purposes, and we'll see just to see what he can do in a mop-up role.
Is Webb even? Is he even active? I thought Gino's been second now all year. I mean, I don't know what they're doing right now. It's kind of hopeless for them.
At this point, does it really matter?
Not for them
now. Skins and Saints.
People keep saying the Redskins are for real. I just can't buy it. I don't believe it. Saints are ridiculous. I think they win that game by 20.
Yeah, I think Cousins is for real, but the Redskins are not.
I still don't trust Cousins.
I think his days in Washington are numbered, and he's playing for a big contract. He'll put up big numbers. They just have too much on offense, like Kamara and Ingram, dynamic combo that we just haven't seen in a backfield in quite some time. Yeah. And I just think it's just too much, and the Saints are going to pull it out.
Cousins playing for that contract in Cleveland.
Probably Denver.
Well, if it comes down to those two,
Bills and Chargers.
Who's playing the Chargers?
Bills.
The Bills, Chargers. Bills got. Speaking of the Saints, Bills got their whole entire feelings handed to them by the Saints last week. Did not see that one coming. I think they still win this game. I don't think outside of a pass rush, the Chargers really have that much going for them. Yeah, so I think the Bills, just out of the fact that they are embarrassed after last week and they're not as bad as they played, figure something out.
The Bills aren't that bad, but the problem is they have a stagnant offense, and I don't think benching Tyrod Taylor for Nate Peterman is going to be the difference in a win here. I think the Chargers are going to be able to pull it out.
So they did bench Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, they benched him earlier this week.
That's silly. Whoops, already made a pick, though.
Yeah, yeah. If Tyrod played, us Bills would have enough of an offense to beat the Chargers. Philip Rivers still throw it around, put up 20-some points. Melvin Gordon in the backfield.
I'll never understand why.
Even with Kelvin Benjamin, I don't think the Bills have enough explosiveness on offense to put up the type of points to win.
I'll never understand why a quarterback gets benched after your defense goes up 50. But whatever.
Yeah. I don't condone the benching. I'm just reporting it and basing my picks off of what other off the stupidity of general managers and coaches. Go to Bengals and Broncos.
That's whoever watches that game. I'm sorry, that's not going to be a very fun game to watch. Bengals just because, just you have to think that team figures it. Andy Dalton's kind of playing for his starting NFL quarterback career at this point. You have to think he acts like it. Joe Mixon needs to do something to warrant him running his mouth as much as he does. So Bengals win, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Broncos in this one. I think last week I saw Osweiler had a decent connection with Sanders and Thomas. The biggest problem was there was a lack of a running game. If they can get a running game established against the Bengals defense, then it will be enough to cast around Osweiler is good enough to elevate them to a win with that defense.
Is Osweiler good enough to elevate anything to a win at this point?
Probably not. But
60 million.
And Raiders.
I wanted to pick the Raiders so bad. I still don't get this year's version of Patriots. I don't see how they're not. I don't see how they don't have 4 losses. I just don't see how they're figuring this out. But even though Oakland's at home, Oakland has been having offensive problems. I have the Patriots winning this game because they seem to figure it out on a week-to-week basis, and Oakland seems to be sputtering. But if Oakland wins this game, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I would certainly be shocked if the Raiders won. But the Patriots offense is the finest form of the air raid I've ever seen. I just think there's just so much firepower, and the Raiders have been so much of a hit or miss team, that I just don't see them showing up. But then again, if they do show up to play, the Patriots defense isn't as good as they have been in the past. Then it could be a nice shootout. But I just think the Patriots have to pull out this victory. And now we go to Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah, I picked the Cowboys just because this is throughout the history of this coaching staff. If you go back and look at times they've been up against the wall, that's seemingly when this team plays the best. That's one of the signatures of the coaching staff. While they can't make that last throughout the season, that's something else to talk about for a different show. But I think the Cowboys figure this out mainly because I think Dak Prescott is literally going to just have to put the team on his back, and he's going to figure out a way to get the running game going. There's going to be a short passing attack that helps them control the ball, keep Carson Wentz on the bench, and there's going to be enough of a running game there. Because if the second half didn't get out of hand in the game last week, the running game was going to be there. And I still think they can run the ball effectively with what they have. I mean, spotlight, if all the reports are true, are going to be on Byron Bell. He's just going to have to not be awful. Don't be like Chaz Green was last week. That's the lowest bar of lowest bars. But they can figure this out. The defense is where I have the biggest question because I don't know how they play defense without Sean Lee because they've shown they can't do it. That's where my questions are: is how the linebackers play and stop the run without Sean Lee. That's my biggest concern. But I think they win a close game and shock a lot of people because the Eagles are not a perfect team. They give up lots of yards on defense, but they score a lot of points. I think they can be beaten. It's a in division game. This game means a lot to the Cowboys, especially during this stretch. And there's been a lot of distractions around the team, which we might get into later. But I think they win this game for each other in a very close, exciting Sunday night football game.
You know what? I disagree with you, but I think you're right. You made some very good points. I'm going to change the way I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I just think that with the backs against the wall, and I think that with it's close, and I think this is going to elevate the play of all the role players that are on the Cowboys roster. I think that I just think that they can keep the game close enough to where we can pull out the victory thanks to Dak. I think Dak is going to be the deciding factor.
That's what you got to hope for. You have to hope your star players like Beasley, Witten, and Daz show up on offense to help Dak, and the defense figures something out. Like Sean Lee is not Superman. Evidently, he might be, but figure something out without him because you just have to at this point. Just do something without him. So.
And the last one is Falcons and Seahawks.
Falcons aren't that. I know they beat the Cowboys by 20 points, but that team they were handed that victory, and they didn't look that impressive still while being handed a victory. Seahawks are without Richard Sherman. Seahawks are still going to beat up the Falcons in Seattle, and I don't expect that game to be that close.
I expect the game to be a little closer than what you are. Even with the new tackle the Seahawks got, I think the Falcons still can give them fits. Right? I mean, they proved against us they're pretty good front, and they could get Russell Wilson fits. But what he showed is that he's better on the run, anyways, and he's still going to do what he can do. Which I think is going to be enough for the Seahawks to eventually pull out the victory. I just think it's going to be a lot closer than what you think.
Yeah, I don't think that Falcons team is that good. Like, should have beat the Cowboys by like 30 or 40, but after. But yeah, that's all of our pick'ems. There's also some differences we have this week, and we try to stay out of owner talk, but a lot of things have dropped in the past 24 hours of Jerry Jones. Again, he called Bob Kraft, owner of the Patriots, a colorful name, basically referencing that he feels Kraft didn't fight enough for Tom Brady, despite the CBA directly saying commissioners, judge, jury, executioner when it comes to making decisions on player punishment was collectively bargained. There's a union. Everyone agreed to it. Jerry says he wants to keep fighting. He's going to keep fighting and pressing the NFL. And then there was a leaked video from 2013 where Jerry spoke to a fan. I don't even want to say this, but Jerry, the fan, who, just for context, is the only reason why it matters. The fan is a white male. He's married to a white woman. He just became engaged to a white woman. He asked Jerry to make a comment to his fiance, whose name is Jennifer, and he basically said that, hey, congratulations on the wedding, Jennifer. You know he's going to be with a black girl tonight. Yeah, Jerry said that in 2013. The fan made it public now to a website called The Blast. And the fan said he thinks it's important to make public now because of the tension around Jerry Jones and the league, the way the country is viewing race relations. And this comes out on the same day that Jerry says he's going to keep fighting against the NFL. And the NFL basically said they're very serious and moving forward with procedures to remove Jerry Jones from the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, forcing him to sell the team a la Donald Sterling from the Clippers several seasons ago. I'll let you comment what you want to comment on that.
Well, there's not much I to say other than, and personally, I kind of hope it happens just because Jerry Jones is the single biggest reason the only reason that I really hate the Cowboys. I just hate that how he ruined what we had going in the 90s. Like, we had a dynasty going, and they chased away Jimmy Johnson. Then again, Parcells, different type of reasoning, but still, like, he's kind of shot the Cowboys franchise in the foot personnel wise, his owner. But there's no question about how much he's grown the franchise money wise. Like, he bought them, I believe it was 150 million is what we looked up earlier.
Yeah, around someone's $150 million.
Yeah, now it's worth 4.8 billion. Like, if he's forced to sell it, he's going to turn a nice profit on it. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess I'd really like him to sell it just because it'd be one less headache for me as a Cowboys fan. But I guess that's kind of a selfish reason to hate him. But
yeah,
is the question, do I think that he deserves to sell the team, or deserve to be forced to sell the team from what he's been saying? I think it, from other owners' perspectives, like, he's borderline just taking away the power of most owners in the league and the commissioner above everything else, and that's just the way he's always been.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, the comment is beyond unfortunate. But I mean, you can't really say anything else about it. It's beyond unfortunate. They need to make that joke, and people will say, "Oh, the joke isn't that much," but you understand what a Southerner from Arkansas is referencing when you make comments like that. It's not exactly a secret. Yeah, there are some things with underlying meanings. Don't pretend to be a naive that those kind of things don't exist. For those who don't think the comment was that bad. So it's. I mean, I don't. Yeah, he's been a great marketer for the team. I did not realize the team was worth somewhere between 4.2 to 4.8 billion dollars. Like, that's an absurd amount of money. And there's been a lot of comments this season that have been distracted away from the football side of the Cowboys, and other people want to blame the players, but it's been, for the past couple of weeks, it's been Jerry Jones and the commissioner who have done that. So I don't know. He's said some things that he should not have said. Definitely, he's may have colluded with Papa John's, who really knows. I don't know. It's just not the best of times for him to be in the spotlight with the team in the situation it is. When it comes down to Ezekiel Elliott situation, the CBA says what the CBA says. You collectively bargained it, everyone agreed to it. So I don't understand how you can be that mad about when it says night and day in CBA directly there what the commissioner can and can't do. You can argue the process may have not been fair, but when you collectively bargain, it is a union. Not every worker in this country has the ability to have a union. But when you collectively bargain with two sides and you agree on that specific of a language, only people that can be blamed are those who bargained it, and that is both sides. So if you don't like it, you could have probably been more on the player side and given up some more things there to change that language. But now you were like, nah, we like the commissioner. He's on our side. So that, for Jerry, as any owner, to be upset about that, it's kind of like, well, you didn't want the players to have as much power as possible. Like, the NFL has probably the weakest union out of all major sports. The Major League Baseball union is probably the best because no salary cap, players making absurd amount of. Jake Arrieta's about to sign for $25 million a year or some crap like that for pitching 1 day a week, or 1 or 2 days a week some weeks. So it's I don't know. It just I would just like Jerry to just stop it. And even if he stopped doing a 105.3 The Fan pieces right now, just stop it. Just get out of the spotlight for a bit. If the team wins this game, just back away for a little bit, and just let the
But the
team
problem,
be the spotlight.
yeah, the problem is I don't think he's capable of being outside the spotlight. I think he at this point, like judging just on his history as the Cowboys owner, I just think he has this psychological need to be at the center of attention. I think that's just how he operates.
I mean, there's nothing in his history to argue against that. It does bother me a bit when so many people around the team are like, "Oh, you don't want to be an enemy of Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is above everything. Jerry Jones is not above the NFL. Let's stop it. Like stop it. Like the next franchise. Like he took a shot at Robert Kraft, who is the owner of the Patriots. They are the second, their second highest estimated net worth of an NFL franchise team with just under $1 billion. Like, it's just like $800 million less than the Cowboys. Then the Redskins, I believe, are next after that. Are the Giants or Redskins are somewhere like around 11th of all franchises, sports franchises in the world. So you got two franchises right there that combine to work more than the Cowboys. That's not even mentioning all the rest of the other franchises. He's not above the NFL. That's a joke to even suggest that. Has he done things for the NFL? Yes, but if he keeps going down this path of you want to try to undermine a vote where all the owners in May agreed to extend the contract of Roger Goodell, and now you're being nitpicky about, oh, you don't want him and his family to have health care for the rest of their lives. Is that really an argument you want to have right now in America, even though Roger Goodell's a millionaire upon millionaire? But I don't know. It's just not. I've been a defender of Jerry Jones for a bit because everyone hates him, and I was just like, he's not going anywhere. Why are we gonna keep harping on Jerry Jones? But this season, he's just been putting his foot in his mouth, and I don't know at this point what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely tired of defend. I mean, I guess I haven't really been defending him at all, but I'm just tired of hearing about his comments in the news because it's never good when I get that update from ESPN that starts out with Jerry Jones. Like after that, it just goes downhill.
Yeah, yeah. And some of the things he said about certain other things, we don't try not to get politically about it. And after the comments today he made, it's just bad look.
Yeah,
That's not bad look. Like
that's no more represent as this franchise.
Yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, that's where that's where the Cowboys are being the Cowboys with it's not just football. There's always some kind of dramatic sitcom going on around the team, and this year it's been starring Ezekiel Elliott and Jerry Jones. Uh, yeah, I think I'll leave that there with what I'll say about being recorded on the situation. But yeah, I mean the game's coming up on Sunday. This is gonna be released out on Saturday, and by next week we'll definitely have all the social media up, and we'll have different announcements to make about how we're going to help spread the show in different areas as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to as we build up the show and try to get more people's eyes on it. So for those who are paying attention to us now, we definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. See you next time.
And see you later, everyone.